So today I want to talk about what to do when the way that you're cleaning your data should work, but isn't because of some weird thing with how text data ends up getting coded. The problem that I'm having, I'll show you. I'm going to open this data frame up. These are data on long COVID publications from PubMed. So the problem that I'm having is that this key text one category here, all of these blank spaces should be showing up as missing or blank, but they're not disappearing when strategies to get rid of missing or blank cells are used. I'm going to show you one of the ways to get around this. So let's start by trimming down some of the extra columns. So if I open this back up again, there's just like a lot of extra stuff here. So the first thing I'm going to do is select only the columns that are most useful to me. We have a couple of identical stripped text columns here, another stripped text column for the key text, and then blank columns that only have, like a yes, no indicator that's not meaningful for this analysis, um, variables that there's no variation, so they all have the same value. So I'm going to start by making a smaller data frame. I'll call it LC small one because my big data frame is LC SIMPS, so long COVID symptoms. Here using Dippler, I'm going to select the ID column, mesh ID, name, text, key text one, trees, and only my main strip text column. I'm not going to take the stripped version of the key text one column that I'm working with because it's messed up and I'm going to have to strip it again later anyways. Next, I want to filter out some stuff that I found that's unrelated. So if I'm looking at this long COVID symptoms, we have one categorization species, disease species. There's also chemical and gene. Some of the species, well, one of the species is meaningful. The others, like patients, not super meaningful to what I'm doing. I'm not going to get into that, but I'll just say not meaningful. I want to get rid of them. But I want to keep the part that is meaningful or potentially meaningful. So I don't want to just get rid of everything that has species in this key name category. So the first thing I'm going to do when I filter is keep things that are not labeled species. So here, key name does not equal species. But then I want to give that a condition. So in addition to key name not being species, I also want strip one category to not be SARS-CoV-2. Now I'm using this stripped category because it's just a little bit more difficult for the computer to grab from the text category that has all the capitals and all the punctuation. In that stripped category, there are two different ways that SARS-CoV-2 ends up showing up. So the first one is SARS space CoV-2. And the other is just SARS-CoV-2, no spaces. I want to make this code just a little bit more organized. I can do that. The next thing that I'm going to want to do is make changes to this new smaller data frame. What I want to do is first I want to factor this key text one variable. Since I'm having trouble with it, I know that it's a character variable. Just in case you're curious about how to find that out, you can just type summary. I'm putting the original data frame since my new one doesn't actually exist yet. Right here, get a summary of this key text one variable. And here I can see it's a character. So I'm going to change it to a factor. To do that, I'm actually going to just add a new variable to my smaller data frame. I'm not going to change the original variable. This is good practice. Just in case your transformations don't work, you don't want to have messed up your data. So I'll use mutate. I'll say what I want to name my new variable. So here I'll just say key text 2. So new variable equals old variable. Here I want to say factoring the old variable. Once I have this new factor variable in my smaller data frame, I want to go ahead and pull it out and store it in its own object. Next, I want to re-level that factor variable, but because I've been having trouble with this level, I'm going to transition it into a data frame first so I can work with the rows. So I'll just call this level store. I'll pull the levels of my temporary, my factor object. And then I'll change that over to a data frame so that I can work with the rows. Once I have that, because of the way factoring works, when we have this blank category, it ends up showing up as the base level, which means it's going to be row 1 in the data frame once we transition that factor variable to data frame format, which means if I identify the first row of this one column data frame, I can put something in there. So here I'm going to put a character value. And because everything that's unlabeled in there is either some variation of COVID, coronavirus disease, or SARS-CoV-2 species, I'm going to give this category the name COVID. Now I can go back to my factor variable and I can re-level it based on what I've just done. So here I'm going to say that the levels for my temporary key text factor object should come from my level store data frame. It should be all of the rows in column 1. Once I've done that, I can put that information back into my data frame for use as a new variable. And I can do that using, so here, data frame, I'll give this the name fix key, because really what it is key of information. I'm going to put that edited factor object in as that variable. Then say I want to share this with my team. I'll save it as a CSV file. And then I can run this. So just to see that it worked, I'm going to open this small data frame. Scroll all the way to the end. And here I can see my new category COVID is there where there was previously no space. And I can see that the file ended up in my computer if I go to files in my working directory, and it's right there.